James in Spokane, Washington. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Congressman, briefly, let me say this. The unconstitutional monstrosity that is our international war on drugs was what I like to consider the first successful global initiative. All our difficulties are exacerbated by this. It is immoral. It is unconstitutional. It is genocide. What do you think?
James, I largely agree with what you're saying. We have way too many people in prison for drugs, especially in places like California with 3 strikes and you're out, and other things. We've just totally destroyed people's lives over something that I think many of us would like to roll back a lot of the laws, especially when it comes to things like marijuana and others. We're seeing states completely legalize it when we're watching the Attorney General trying to continue to interfere. And quite honestly, the Obama administration wasn't a whole lot better when it came to this. We need to get a lot smarter about how we deal with drugs and understand that, from a libertarian perspective, I mean, people are going to make choices. And if they're not hurting someone else, especially when it comes to issues like marijuana, we're putting an awful lot of people in prison. And it's very expensive, both in human terms and cost to states across the country. And we should have a reform. We've got a number of bills in Congress to try to work towards that, but I don't anticipate with this majority those change.
Because, what you mean with the Republican majority?
Exactly, the Republican majority. I mean, there's a few Republicans who continually sign on to bills and want to get smarter on crime in general. There's still a tough on crime mentality within the Republican Party, assuming that's actually a mentality.
Yeah, I think it's more like Ehrlichman said, we did this to go after the hippies and black people. Anyhow, Joey in Lake Elsinore, California, you are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Tom, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to give a shout out real quick to my friends over at PBS because they did talk about Bernie yesterday, and he was on. And you said you were concerned that they wouldn't give you any coverage, but he did get some yesterday. It was very good.
Oh, that's great.
Congressman Pocan, I wanted to give a shout out to my congressman, Roka Hana. I wish you could get him to come on the show. He's a very, very good freshman. At any rate, real quick, I wanted to discuss the difference between providing for those people, let's say the blind, the ones that people that are dependent in our Social Security, and my ability as a working person with 30-plus years paying into the system and my retirement. Then the mixing up Medicare, which is an earned benefit, versus the society's responsibility of taking care of those people that can't take care of themselves. Now, as a working person, I contribute to this system for my whole career, and I do so willfully to provide for my family in my death, or to provide for someone else's child who's, let's say, unable to provide for them. Now, those are entitlements, I guess you would say, versus my retirement benefits that I've been contributing to my whole life, and how I don't feel that it's fairly accurate to say that this is an entitlement. I contributed to this.
Right. Joey, what's your point? What's your specific question for Congressman Pocan?
Why are we allowing the government to mix the two and call it an entitlement? It's not. It's a benefit that I paid into. That's not an entitlement for me to get Social Security and retirement if I'm at 50
Okay, so I get it. So you're objecting to the word entitlement. Joey, thank you. Congressman.
Yeah, Joey, first of all, definitely on your shout out on Ro Khanna, Ro has been a very active member of the Progressive Caucus. He's doing a great job, and we're going to continue working with him to advance these progressive policies. So thank you. You're right. The problem is Republicans, a lot of it's semantics, right? They want you to think things that you've paid into your entire life, like Social Security and Medicare. Don't forget, you're paying into both of those on a regular basis. And then they want to make it sound like you're getting something free from the government, when this is the kind of the social contract we've all put the money into to make sure that we have something for us when we need it. And let's never forget, Paul Ryan, when his father passed away, he had Social Security there for his back. And now he wants to lift up that ladder for everyone else. That's just wrong. And I think you make a good point, because they want to use semantics and make entitlements somehow a bad word, when it's your earned benefits that you've paid for, and it works in a way to make sure that everyone has it available when they need to, but everyone will get some of that back because it's your money, and we got to consider it just as such.
The one benefit of keeping them labeled as entitlements, though, is that they're not therefore part of the discretionary budget, and they can't therefore be cut by Republicans in some sneaky way or even a broad brush way where they're just dialing back all non-discretionary or all discretionary spending, for example, like it was done with the sequester. Am I not correct on that?
Yes, I just think what Joey is saying, if I understood him correctly, is that they're trying to make the semantics of entitlement bad, right?
Talking about the marketing of it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I think that's the point, and he wants us to be careful how we talk about it because they are, as much as they're entitlements by legalese, they're your earned benefits because you've paid into them your entire life. And I think that's the important point, and it is an important point to make.
Yeah. Scott in Chicago, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Thank you. I'm listening in Waukesha. WRRD has picked you up, Tom. So
great. Thank you.
Give them a shout out when you can. I spoke to you last week, Tom, in Janesville. I asked you about who you were supporting for Democratic chair. And to that, I would like to say, as we're losing in Wisconsin especially to Republicans with a lot of help from union brothers and sisters, when is the National Committee going to focus again? We focus on gay rights. We focus on minority outreach, which I support 100%. But who's in the board, who is in the leadership of the Democratic Party, who is like you, a union member, a laborer, someone who got their hands dirty. It seems like it's just like an Ivy League club at the top of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, Scott, first of all, it was good seeing you in Janesville. Tom, I, along with a couple of my colleagues, Mark DeSaulnier from California and Don Norcross from New Jersey, came in and we were doing and Debbie Dingell was with us earlier in the day from Michigan, a future work and labor thing. We're doing it around the country. And Scott
great.
was there. And, I think specifically to your question, Scott, is, on the DNC, having Keith Ellison where he's at is extremely helpful at the national level. Tom Perez, quite honestly, was one of the most progressive secretaries in the Obama administration, Secretary of Department of Labor. So he certainly does get the issues. I think the point that you're making, and I've tried to make when we look at why Wisconsin went for Trump, was we had 200,000 fewer Democratic voters, but the Republicans had about the same amount of voters. And where we largely lost those people was we weren't talking to people about kitchen table issues, people who are talking about paying for their mortgage, sending their kids to college, taking a family vacation. We didn't do that. You can't just say I'm not that person, and you can't just say I don't support the TPP as currently written. And none of that rings true to people who are, working families. And I think we have to get back to that core economic message, which is part of why we were in Rock County, about 90 yards outside Paul Ryan's district, trying to have that message. And I think that is a winning message for the Democrats going into 18, because we can bring all those voters back and then some if we're actually talking about what they care about, not some other countries.
Great. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us, taking your calls for the hour. We'll be back. We're coming up on 28 minutes past the hour. We'll be back in just a moment with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan. Stick around.